Hi everybody, this is Dee at Aloha Astro, and let's take a look at the full moon today, which occurred this evening at, I believe, 9:43 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the full moon in Libra at 0 degrees 9 minutes of Libra, and it's called the worm moon. So today was an incredibly busy day astrologically, and when I write a horoscope, I usually do it the evening before, or I try to, and take a look at what the energy for the next day is up ahead. So as we went into today, there was a great deal of busyness, and I will just read through everything. We started out under Virgo, and we ended under Libra, and in the beginning, moon in Virgo moving toward a full moon in Libra, Wednesday, March 20th, brings an intense urge to seek improvement and perfection, as the moon forms a grand trine with Mars in Taurus, and Saturn conjunct Pluto in Capricorn opposes Neptune. Mercury retrograde and the Sun conjunct in Pisces enters a T-square with the Pisces planets and Jupiter in Sagittarius, and creates a quincunx with Venus in Aquarius. The large number of aspects between the moon and the other planets can make this a busy, action-filled full moon, especially during the working hours of your day, when the Virgo influence turns your attention to immediate needs and fixing problems as they appear. The earthy grand trine is polite, but firmly result-oriented. It drives a kite pattern led by the North Node in Cancer, which may make sole purpose or the protection of family the overlighting motivation for the productive work of the Grand Trine. Cooperation, teamwork, and friendly communication occurred despite the emotional intensity of a full moon due to Venus sextile Jupiter. Later in the evening, as the moon enters relationship-minded Libra, you may continue connecting with people or a certain someone. Is it friendship or the chance for something more? Or maybe an ex pops up and you can't decide whether to be physical again or stay detached. With Venus square to Mars and the moon quincunx Uranus in Taurus, a sexual encounter may be exciting and relieve the tension, but it doesn't support long term, and it may take time for romantic feelings to progress to forever plans while Mercury is retrograde. If someone tells you that they have changed, the only test to be sure is that of time. Maintain your own sense of self and independence as you embark on a new or a renewed relationship, and enjoy the moment of we that the present may offer. So, let us take a look over at Planet Watcher and see what we have going on. Now, I am recording this in the evening already at 11 p.m. Yes, oh boy, I had a busy day. And we've already seen the Grand Trine begin to fall apart as the moon moved out of Virgo. But its remnants are still here residually, and we definitely see the opposition here between the moon and the sun. And this yod pops out more strongly as we go into the evening, and I feel like Venus and Jupiter also in this yod here are playing an important role. So we have the North Node factoring in a great deal in Cancer, and I feel that people are definitely being affected by this super full moon, and it is in Libra, the sign of relationships, but we have some of this cardinal water Cancer energy going on, and the North Node has a lot to do with destiny, fate, karma, a feeling of something being significant, or the feeling that something has to be a certain way or should be a certain way. And while we have the North Node involved in two different yods, one with Jupiter and Venus, both in very independent, freedom, adventurous, willing to take risks. There's a lot of expansion there for purpose. And then we have Jupiter involved and Mars in Taurus, which seems to have more of a material focus to the purpose, or the protection and safety perhaps of family, that there has to be a good reason for the actions beyond just having an adventure or being independent. And I do think that emotional security may be a big thing. Thinking about the future, worrying about it, and wanting to make sure that it's going to be okay, and knowing that sometimes you can't sit and wait and assume that things will be all right, that sometimes you have to take risks or chances to be able to move forward and move ahead. And I think that that's almost the greater message here than what we have going on with the moon and the sun. There can be a lot of not seeing things clearly and having to get back to the self because of the sun now entering Aries, joining Chiron in Aries, and we have Mercury retrograding with Neptune. And Mercury retrograde on top of Neptune in Pisces involved can bring the confusion or the not seeing things realistically or clearly, wanting to believe things to be a certain way. And now with the full moon, I think you can't hide from anything anymore. There's more clarity in terms of how are things really, or what do you need to do. Ultimately, I think this full moon in a sign of partnership, opposing the sun in Aries and Chiron in Aries, that you have to acknowledge what part you play in a relationship, and also how you want to maintain yourself while you are in a relationship. So there can be a lot of focus on the self at the same time when we have the emphasis on Libra, which is about partnership or the mirror. Libra is also about compromise, harmony, balance, perfection, and it is a cardinal air sign, so it is very thoughtful, and it's very good. Libra's very good at telling other people what they need to do, but Libra often doesn't see the best choice for themselves, and when they make a decision and have to choose between two things or two people or two jobs or whatever, they often feel as though they look back at what they've left behind and wish that they could change their mind or have made a different decision, but the cardinal energy that they carry makes them very astute when it comes to seeing how other people should be making decisions. So I think that there's a lot of that going on today with this full moon, where we have to watch that we don't get into situations where it's like, what do they call it? The pot calling the kettle black, and or being one of those people living in a glass house throwing stones or whatever. Take a look very carefully at what you are expecting from somebody else, what you are saying about somebody else, in order to figure out what is important, whether something is true, and how you can move forward. And whatever you move forward on in relationship today may come up for revision at the new moon when we get into the first week in April and we get past Mercury retrograde and it turns direct. So whatever might get decided today, I don't know if it's going to be a permanent thing. This trine here between Mars and in Taurus and Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn would potentially like it to be, but there is still some seeking and instability overall, especially with the Mars-Venus square. I think that that may stand in the way of something actually becoming solid. So if you are getting back together with somebody, just remember that it might be nice in the moment, but I don't know if it's going to continue to last if you have a renewal at this point in time. So that is what we have going on there at Planet Watcher. Let's take a look at the Sabian symbol for this particular moon, and we round up to 1 degree. First level, actional. Libra 1 degree. In a collection of perfect specimens of many biological forms, a butterfly displays the beauty of its wings, its body impaled by a fine dart. I've read the Sabian symbols for years, and this is always one that just disturbs me for some reason. But just the image of a beautiful butterfly, which should be free, and then it's absolutely perfect in form, yet it can't move. It's been impaled. So that one always feels particularly disturbing to me. Keynote: the immortal archetypal reality that a perfect and dedicated life reveals. Just as the symbol for Aries 1 evoked the keynote of the entire first half of the cycle, i.e. differentiation out of the undifferentiated ocean of potentiality, this symbol for Libra 1 reveals to the intuitive consciousness the essential character of the second hemicycle. In the yearly cycle, we have reached the fall equinox, the symbolic time of bringing in the harvest in preparation for winter. It is the time consecrated to the seed, just as the spring equinox is consecrated to the germ, the new rise of life, which informs the growth of individual organisms. At this autumnal point, the drive toward individualization and self-assertion has lost much of its momentum, while a new trend is successfully and dynamically challenging its hegemony, the trend toward the formation of collectives of individuals. But this new trend can be misunderstood if seen only superficially as the mere gathering together of individual persons. The process has a much deeper meaning and indeed an inner source of power, for what is at stake is not merely an aggregation of separate units, simple or already complex, as in the case of families. At the core of this coming together, the descent or externalization of archetypal realities is gradually occurring. At the Libra stage, these archetypal realities are forms. At the Scorpio stage, they will be powers. The symbol for this degree of the fall equinox thus describes a perfect form, the result of the metamorphosis of worm into butterfly, a process, the symbolism of which has so often been used to indicate to man the possibility of his being transformed into more than man, the transhuman being. I find that interesting because I chose a picture of a robot, a toy robot, and it simply, the energy of today made me think that we are constantly striving for something better, to be more, to have more. And this full moon in particular seems to point to that, wanting to accomplish so much, especially with that grand trine in Earth involving some pretty materialistic planets, Mars, Saturn, Pluto, making something real. And basically technology and robotics have reached a point where it's not just it's not a toy anymore. It's not fantasy. It's not imagination. It's something that is used in daily lives and in production, and that we are maybe one day going to replace ourselves and become a more perfect being, but not necessarily a living organic being or organism anymore. So that whole symbol of seeking that perfection, something that will never grow tired, something that can keep working and working, something that will do a repetitive task over and over and over again and work perfectly, came to mind, and I chose that picture of a toy robot. So let's get back to here. More than man, the transhuman being, the true initiate, the adept, the perfect. The perfect butterfly is impaled by a fine dart. The symbol of dart of wisdom was used in Mark Jones' mimeographed course, while the original notation of what the clairvoyant had seen indicated a butterfly made perfect by a dart through it, suggesting a process of perfection through sacrifice. As I see it, the dart can hardly be said to have made the butterfly perfect, but it keeps it perfect by killing the living organism. The impaled butterfly is preserved by the dart, which fixes it in perfection for a whole cycle, i.e., it makes an archetype of it. By thus escaping the normal process of dying and decay, the butterfly form, the perfection, is kept. It is kept in the mystical Shambhala, where it is said that the pattern of man is kept, just as the perfect bar measuring exactly 1 meter is, or was, kept in a crypt in Paris, where the metric system was originally devised. The perfect butterfly thus represents the outcome of the process of occult discipleship, symbolized by the sign Virgo. From then on, a new process begins, that of a collectivization. At the very core of that new process, the perfect form of man must remain as a standard of value if this process is to be valid and meaningful. This is the first statement in the 13th scene of the great ritual drama. It is an actional phase because it is in the perfection of individual activity. Because in it the perfection of individual activity is revealed and immortalized. This is the symbolic transfiguration. At the moment of transfiguration, Jesus, the Son of Man, was impaled by the ray of divine light, making him a Son of God. It was at this very moment that he learned of the crucifixion awaiting him. Thus, the merely human individual is made sacred, becoming the pure embodiment of an archetype. Whew! Definitely one of the more complex and deep and lengthy explanations of a Sabian symbol. I feel like we are also sitting at the polarity that can come up under a Libra moon cycle, where we're more aware of the polarization, and Libra seeks to bring compromise, balance, harmony between people. So we may be looking out at the world in a larger way, possibly politically, possibly concerns for the future, as to how to get everybody together in a way that is going to result in a happy future for humanity as a whole. And we may be looking at how technology is going to serve us as well. I feel like we're only seeing the beginning of what might be a separation of humanity because of technology, those that have more advanced technology and those that do not, and the power that technology has to actually help all of us is very great, yet it seems to me that it can also be extremely separating. So to me, technology represents that perfection, the robotic ability to do something without error and tirelessly, to be able to simply do it better than a person can do it. But I think that when we take that path or that route, we're also losing some of the humanness, which is so necessary for harmony in life. The emotional component, the thinking component, which as of now, robotics does not contain that. So a lot to think about at this full moon, and I hope that you will be safe out there. I hope you're out enjoying it. I have a clear sky tonight, and I'm going to go out and enjoy it myself. Take care, and until I see you at the new moon in the first week in April, enjoy, and I will talk to you soon.